The Jay Garvin Show. Home Mortgage Talk. Saturdays 8 a.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. on KRDO News Radio 105.5 FM and 1240 a.m. And now here's your host, Jay Garvins.
Well, good morning, Southern Colorado. I am Jay, and you're listening to The Jay Garvin Show. I cannot believe it. We are actually into May, the first weekend of May. The official sponsor of my show this week is the Miller Moth, because they're everywhere and they are prevalent. So if you have any Miller Moths, just tell them thank you, because they are financing this show. I flew in on a fleet of Miller Moths, and I think I have Miller Moths in my nostrils and in my hair and in everything. My wife Marlo and I live in the Broadmoor, and I think the whole community is going to be elevated by the Miller Moth. So if you're a first-time listener, this is not a show about Miller Moths. This is the Jay Garvin's Show. This is Home Mortgage Talk. I am your Southern Colorado Home Mortgage Jedi. I am not a therapist. I am not a doctor. I simply am the master. So I also own Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans. We have a really great show today. I finished up a series last week of It's My House, Where Did My Equity Go? You can go on to krdo.com, hit the tab for radio, hit the schedule, find Jay Garvin's, and listen to any of those archive shows. As my regular listeners know, I appreciate every single one of you that is listening and has been listening. Linda, Doug, Greg, Monica, I talk to you guys all the time. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. We're here every week. I tag off of basically the common sense approach to real estate and home mortgage on the same line of approach that Dave Ramsey does with home budgeting and financial responsibility. I'm the kind of guy that is spend less, make more, get rid of your bills, don't create more, do things intelligently in moderation rather than just throwing a whole bunch of mud against the wall in the stock market and toys and bills and all of that. I really do believe a simple life will give a sense of security to everybody, especially you, the mom, the wife out there, the working female. Security is extremely important, and I am helping you, and I'm doing everything I can to help you find that within the real estate and mortgage environment. And if you listen to Dave Ramsey during the week, Monday through Friday, I say welcome home. I'm just a continuation of that on Saturdays and Sundays as it applies to your mortgage, your home finance, and everything with your real estate that is the largest investment you have. I'm going to do a little bit of a housekeeping here. I'm going to talk about a couple of different subjects today. We're going to talk a little bit about the FHA mortgage a little bit. We're going to talk about your VA eligibility. I am going to talk a little bit about the reverse mortgage and ask you, the listeners, question and feedback about that. But most importantly today, I'm going to talk about purchasing and the summer, because it's the 1st of May. And the time is upon us. Let the housing purchase wars begin. So the title of my show officially is I Want a House? What do I qualify for? So here we are, the first weekend in May, and that's what we're going to focus on. A little bit of information about the economy first. Well, we are very much into a two-person race politically. I stay out of that. We have Mitt Romney, and we have President Obama. I cannot tell you this November is going to be one of the most important elections that you either participated in or ignored. And I'm going to tell you right now, Mitt Romney is a businessman, and I am a businessman, and I think we have come to a culture of not Democrat and Republican going head-to-head, but I really believe that we've come almost between the American and the politician, definitely the businessman and the bureaucrat. So I'm going to do a whole separate show on that one. I'm writing that one down because that's good. The businessman and the bureaucrat. But I'm going to let you know that Mitt Romney is a businessman, and he is a family man just like Obama. But President Obama is not a businessman. He's never run a business in his life. I don't have anything against him personally. I would just like anybody out there, just like if an individual is a teacher, you don't know unless you're there, spend a week in the classroom and you'll appreciate your child's teacher more. I'm saying the same thing. I think our president would benefit a lot if he'd run a business just for a week, especially a mortgage business where we have 35 hoops to jump through. And I'm going to tell you a story about a VA mortgage today that will spin your head with the bureaucracy that we go through. So I'm writing this down, the businessman and the bureaucrat. That's going to be another show, and that's going to be good. But for you personally, which I so appreciate your time, you can do anything you want this weekend, and you chose to tune in. So if you have a question specifically about your FHA mortgage, your VA mortgage, your questions about reverse mortgage, if you have a question about a purchase, if you just don't like my attitude, call me directly, 719-330-1457. That's my number. I don't have anybody take my calls. I answer them all. I have a very loving family that my wife Marlo and my kids Asher and Ella are very patient with me on the weekends as I take your call. Even if you're driving down the road and you don't want to talk to me, just dial my number and hang up. I get enough of that's okay. I'll call you back so you can get my number in your phone. You can do it now. As you're driving, put down the coffee, keep the bagel, wave to the person next to you, and dial in 719-330-1457. Just push send, and you'll save it in there. I'm going to tell you how to get to my website later, but I do want to get into some of the nuts and bolts of today. So the other housekeeping items are that I had Bill McAfee, the owner of Empire Title and Short Sale Solutions, in last week, and he did a market update. And if you have any questions at all about short sales, I mean, Bill McAfee is the expert. Short Sale Solutions, I'm talking to real estate agents out there. I'm talking to people that actually want to buy a short sale. Again, you call me at that 330-1457 number, and I will get you directly connected to Bill because he's the absolute best in the industry. And I just had a story this week about how he took care of a very disgruntled client, actually one of my radio listeners. And that's what it takes to be the owner of a company, is you just have to solve problems. And going back to the nuts and bolts of today and some of the housekeeping is when you get into the election, it's going to be very, very important because we need someone that can run this country like a business or a household. And right now, I would argue or have the debate with anybody that our country isn't balancing its checkbook. We don't have common business sense approach. And that's going to be the end of my soapbox to say that I openly am going to be behind Mitt Romney because we need a businessman in the White House. And this gentleman has run businesses his whole life. You can do the research of what he did with Massachusetts after running a business and so on and so forth. But let's get into a couple of things here. I want a house. What do I qualify for? That's such a loaded question. First of all, let's start with this. Individuals that already have a house out there, I like to throw these out there. If you are at 6% or higher and you have an investment property and you haven't restructured that, a conventional loan, you got a little bit of equity, you've got a job, it's not a trailer home, you're employed, give me a call. We are running so fast towards this huge brick wall called inflationary hedge that if you don't get your investment properties down and below significantly 6%, I can get you down to like 4.5%. And I've been telling people 5.75 or below, give me a call on an investment property. I just don't want to have skinny earnings for you. But if you are 6% or above and you have any investment property that is 6% above and you're actually employed or you have income coming in, if you have no income coming in and you have a 300 FICO score and someone just followed you home and tried to take your car through repossession, don't call me. But if you have all of the basic things of I have job, I have money, I have equity, but you have an interest rate over 6% on an investment property, give me a call. If you don't call now, you're just going to throw it away and you can save hundreds of dollars a month, thousands of dollars a year, and over the next 10 years, put an extra $20,000 to $30,000 into your retirement plan. That's number one. Number two is if you have a conventional loan and you're above 5.5% and you haven't refinanced yet, I don't say this to be a jerk, but first of all, pull the sand out of your ears and get your head out of the beach because I don't know where you've been hiding. because rates are now, again, we had a blip up for about 6 months. Since last October, we've been up at about 4.25% to maybe 4.375 on the conventional, but we're down to 4% again. So if you're at a 5 or 5.5%, as long as I can save you a couple $100 a month, as long as your investment to do so is not more than $1,000 to $2,000 out of your equity total, we're talking $200 a month, $2,000 to $3,000 a year. We're talking $30,000 over the next 10 years just for making a 2-minute phone call or a 2-minute inquiry. And if you call, I've told you, 330-1457, 330-1457. The thing I haven't told you is you can go directly to Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com. Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com. Now, as I expand this show up to Fort Collins, I'm probably going to change the name of that to just Colorado HomeMortgageLoans.com. But right now, you go to Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com, fill out the information on the right-hand side, click send. You'll see a cheesy picture of me in a flight suit, but more importantly, your information will get to me and will help you. Now, the most important thing that I'm going to share with you is that if you have a government loan, that's above 4.75, you seriously need to pull over right now, put down your cup of Java, stop hammering in your garage this morning. Actually tell your wife, honey, I've got to write this down even though we're driving to church. Write my number down, 330-1457, because the government loans right now are down to 3.75%, and I literally have 20 people personally that I'm helping, just like you, that are creating almost an entire retirement fund just off their VA. So that's the housekeeping right there. I also want to talk about reverse mortgage. I don't know a lot about this, but I am considering partnering with a gentleman in town, Steve Haney, that owns Provident. And I don't know a lot about reverse mortgages. I need to know right now, you the listener, if you want to know about reverse mortgage and what it does for you, the bottom line is this. If you're a retired individual and you have equity in your house, but you feel it is kept prisoner, that you don't have a very good monthly income flow, you kind of feel house poor. You feel as if I love the fact that I have a house, but how am I going to struggle through the last season of my life and end up giving my children a tremendous inheritance and nest egg, but I'm going to struggle to the finish line. If that's you, then you actually need to call me and say, Jay, I want to hear more about reverse mortgage. I want you to have Steve in the studio and talk about those things. Another thing as well is if you are a savvy investor and you own your house outright and you see the stock market, I'm telling you right now, you can go ahead and Google this stuff. Right now, we're in a secular bear market, which means that from 2006 till about 2025, we're going to have a market that essentially stays the same. But if you actively can pull profit out of the market and you want to use a different investment strategy and your money is caught in your house, give me a call. We can talk reverse mortgage, and I just want to see if there is a audience for that. But straight ahead, you're not going to want to go anywhere. I've got 3 basic things that I'm going to touch on in the next segment. Number 1, we're going to get into the FHA mortgage and how you can do that to qualify for a home purchase. We're also going to get into the conventional first-time home buyer and all of the difference of the no money or near no money down purchases for you, the renter. And then thirdly, we're going to get into the actual FHA program that is coming up on June 9th, to where if you're refinancing your FHA mortgage right now in a Streamline and your broker hasn't told you to stop and hold off till June 9, you want to stay tuned after the break. We're going to see why you are going to educate that individual or fire them. This is Jay, and you're listening to The Jay Garvin Show. We'll see you after the break.
The Jay Garvin Show. Home Mortgage Talk. Saturdays 8 a.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. on KRDO News Radio 105.5 FM and 1240 a.m. And now here's your host, Jay Garvins.
Well, welcome back. I am Jay. You're listening to The Jay Garvin Show. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your feedback. And as we go into the segment here, I told you we were going to get into an FHA program and exactly what is happening with the FHA Streamline. We're going to get in more with the title of the show, I Want a House. What do I qualify for? Because there's a lot of news here locally about the numbers and stuff and what you need to do to qualify. I just talked to one of my clients, Monica, in Las Vegas last night, and she said, hey, it looks like all of the internet is saying it's harder and harder to get qualified for a loan, and that is correct. The bottom line is that if you have an FHA mortgage right now and you have not finished your streamlined refinance process and you started the process recently, since, say, the 1st of April, you want to give me a call and stop the process now if your mortgage banker or broker has not very clearly told you, hey, I know we started the number, but we don't want to issue you an FHA case number until after the 9th of June. We want to hold off. We want to prepare. I want to take care of you, but this is the reason why. Then you need to fire that individual, because what happened is this. Back in February, the MIP, the mortgage insurance funding fee, mortgage insurance premium up front for an FHA mortgage was at 1%. So if you had a $100,000 home, you were going to pay $1,000 up front. That was either paid for cash or rolled into the loan in order to get access to the FHA program. And whether you were refinancing or purchasing, that's just your cost of doing the program. Number two, then in about the 1st of April, because that program is stretched, and I like to use the analogy as the FHA mortgage is an elephant on a guitar string, because you, the borrower, are like an elephant. There is so much weight on the FHA program because other than the VA, it's the last bastion of possibility in the United States to buy a house with little or no money down. And the FHA program is the guitar string because it's very strained, it's very stretched, and it's got a lot of weight on it. So they had to adjust the first-time origination mortgage insurance premium fee to 1.75%. So now every $100,000 that you borrow, that's $1,750 that gets slapped onto your balance. Well, Congress right away said that is way too much burden for someone just streamlining and reducing their interest rate. So they said, let's scurry into a new session, let's scurry and make a new law, and scurry make a new regulation, and boom. They said as of the 9th of June, anybody who is doing a streamline, not a purchase, but a streamline, just saving your interest rate, is going to have an effective mortgage insurance premium that reduces from 1.75 down to 0.01. So listen to me on this. This is so important. This is like pull over your car, put the sandwich down, put your tools down in the garage, take the radio headset off, move away from your lawnmower, whatever, and write this down. If you have an FHA mortgage, your fees basically just went from $1,750 up front to $10. Literally a $1,700 a month savings. And if your mortgage broker or banker is walking you through the process and hasn't mentioned this to you because they need a pay stub and mommy's complaining because she hasn't been to Dillard's lately, that guy's just broke and he's trying to get a paycheck and he's sweeping $1,750 worth of government fees under the carpet onto your loan, and he's going to use the excuse with his arms raised in the air, as you can visualize mine now, sorry, it's a government fee, I can't do anything about it. Wrong. The bottom line is that all he has to do is say, you know what, Charlie, let's just go ahead and discontinue this refinance. Let's get a new FHA case number after the 9th of June, and I'm going to pay you $1,750. And if you like me, you can give me some of that money. But the bottom line is that if you're going through the process right now and an individual hasn't mentioned that to you, that is grounds to fire them immediately. That's an integrity issue, whether it's a banker or a broker. I will tell you a couple other reasons here real fast to talk to someone else. Right now, Wells Fargo, but more specifically, and Federal Credit Union, I was sitting in a purchase with a nice gentleman called Eric who works in the loan division. They are 13 to 14 weeks backlogged in refinances. If you're sitting here in a holding pattern on a refinance that you started in February on an FHA and you're not even halfway through it, and you're working with Ent or Wells Fargo or B of A, that a big bank, they got you holding endlessly, stop. Tell them I'm not interested and give me a call, because we can wrap everything around, even though we're slow, in 5 weeks. That means we can do 3 clients in the time that they can do 1, and you deserve more attention. So I'm telling you, and I'm going to have whole separate shows about that, how banks can be that arrogant, credit unions can be that arrogant to say, I'm sorry, we're just real busy. And we had a lobotomy of the left-hand side of our brain that we don't know how to hire people, so we're just going to make you wait 15 to 17 weeks. It makes no sense. Hi, my name's Bobby, and I don't mean anything to my bank or credit union. It steams me up. So I'm not saying we're perfect. We make mistakes. Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans, the company that I own, we're constantly bringing in new staff to fine-tune the actual customer service. I mean, give me a call, 330-1457, 330-1457, if your loan process is going slow. Now, I'm not a viper in a pit. I'm not an individual that's going to steal someone away from another company. But if you're getting misled and lied to as far as the fees, or if you're getting dragged through the mud and saying, sorry, just wait, and your program's mediocre anyways, then let's just have the talk. I mean, go to my website, Colorado Springs, homemortgageloans.com, Colorado Springs, homemortgageloans.com, and we can talk about those things. There's a couple other things that are happening as far as the FHA mortgage, and that's the fact that just recently, going back now to the title of the show, I Want a House, What Do I Qualify For? We have determined over the last 6 to 8 weeks in our company that we've been reevaluating the FHA mortgage and the conventional. Because here's the deal. FHA funding fee up front has went from 1% to 1.75, number one. Number two, the mortgage insurance premium has went effectively from like 0.95 up to 1.3 is a worst case scenario. What does that mean to you? I like to put things in layman's terms. If you have a $100,000 mortgage, it used to be that you had 0.95% fee per year, which is $950, broke up and paid monthly. So 95 divided by 12, I don't know what it is. It's less than 100. It's about 80 some bucks. But that just went from $950 a year up to about $1,300 a year. So now effectively you went from like an $87 a month fee all the way up to about $106 fee monthly. So I have a client of mine, Chad and Holly, which by the way, Chad, Holly, if you're listening, I hope the delivery of your beautiful baby went well. They're in labor right now. They're buying a house. They're selling a house. But in their situation, the reason I bring up this example, and this goes directly in line to I Want a House, What Do I Qualify For, is their FHA mortgage insurance premium on a monthly basis on a $270,000 house was looking at $300 a month. I mean, that's more than their taxes and insurance combined. So now you got $300 a month. We're talking crazy numbers of almost $4,000, $3,600 a year. Plus they have the 1.75% on that dollar amount is almost $4,000, $4,200. So the bottom line is the only thing they have as an advantage is the limited down payment, which is 3.5%. That used to be 3%. So if you're tracking the FHA mortgage, again, we got an elephant on a guitar string. We as a nation are the elephant, and the FHA program's a guitar string. As that gets more and more strained, government turns around, we need a bigger down payment to kind of flush this program. We need more monthly insurance to flush this program. And all of it together, and we need more mortgage insurance or a set premium fund up front. And my determination is this as well. Here's another one for you. If you have above a 700 FICO score and you are buying a house above $200,000 and your mortgage broker or banker, if you're in the purchase process right now, has not told you stop, let's do a conventional mortgage. Let's do a 3% down conventional or a 5% down conventional, then they are absolutely doing you a disservice, because this is what happened with Chad and Holly. And this is exactly what goes in line to I Want a House. And what do I qualify for? Well, this is what you qualify for. They were going to put down 3.5% on a FHA home, but they were instantly getting charged 1.75%. So they're at 5.25% anyways. You see, they're putting 3.5% down, but they're being charged 1.75. So they are 0.25% down payment worse than if they were to just do a conventional loan up front and put the 5%. Then on top of that, even though the government interest rate is lower, the PMI, the private mortgage insurance on the conventional side, is only about $170 a month. But the MIP is over $311. We literally have almost $180 to $200 shift just in the mortgage insurance premium. The conventional rate is a little bit higher, about 0.25 point higher. But Chad and Holly were given the option, hey, do we want to put an extra 1.5% down? Can you stretch that? But get a mortgage payment that is $1,560 a month rather than $1,710 a month. I mean, it is just absolutely crazy. So there's savings there for you. And the bottom line is this. If you have a FICO score, a credit score above 700, and you have a house that you are buying above 200, then you need to lean away from the FHA mortgage because what you qualify for is going to be more. So that's one example here of how we're touching on, I want a house, what do I qualify for? Let's go into one more thing, and I want to hit on this hard today. VA eligibility. I'm going to hit two things here. First of all, let me say this. If you are a veteran, thank you for serving. I served myself. I would say 40 to 60% of all of my clients, all of our clients at Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans are veterans. The one thing that makes my company unique is every single originator and now my processors and the front staff, we are all veterans, not because we think veterans are better. Number one, coming in Colorado Springs, they need work after they get out and separate from Peterson Air Force Base, Schriever, the Air Force Academy, or Fort Carson, or even NORAD. I think there's more Canadians coming out of NORAD than Americans, but I'm not going to split that hair. The bottom line is that they need work, and I'm a veteran myself. And secondly, I find out that they have a tremendous work habit. If you want to be in the mortgage industry, you don't have to be smarter. You don't even have to have a degree, but you better well be able to have thick skin, go through a whole bunch of bureaucratic junk. I said that nicely. And then you also need to be able to problem solve. You're going to have things thrown at you that just have to be solved. And the military, the veteran, the active duty mind just does that. And I'm going to put this out here, three things here. One, if you're previous military, especially if you're a senior NCO or a junior officer and you've had any experience in the banking industry at all or any mortgage at all, give me a call. My brokers make a great deep 5 to 6 figure salary, and I am looking and interviewing and talking to any veterans at all, whether they are your son, daughter, brother, sister, you, your husband, wife, or whatever. Give me a call. Number two is this. If you have VA eligibility and you currently don't have a VA loan, just stop right now in your car, look in the mirror, and just slap yourself in the face. Because if you got that entitlement, listen to me here. This is like, hey, Mom, I went all the way through the Army so I could get my GI Bill and go to college, and I'm going to throw it right in the trash and not use it. That's crazy. You've got a degree that you earned through blood and sweat, and if you don't go get it and go do the work to go get it, you're just naive, deflected, or flat out stupid. Now, I can't help stupid. But if you're an individual that hasn't thought about it, you've been distracted, and you've got VA eligibility and you haven't used it, let me tell you what you're passing up. My wife and I just bought a $400,000 house at 3.75% with no money down to where we got 100% of our earnest money back. We bought our dream house at $1,800 a month, $250 less than we were renting. So if you're renting and you have VA eligibility, if you're just moving into town and you've never used your VA eligibility, you've been on Fort Carson housing and you just retired and you haven't used your VA eligibility, give me a call because we have historically low home prices. We have historically low mortgage rates. We have all of these things coming together, and the perfect storm is for you to use that eligibility. Now, another reason that I want to talk VA here is if you currently have a house and it's not in a VA mortgage, but you have eligibility. And trust me, I talked to a gentleman, Mike, the other day that served in Vietnam and didn't know that if you served between August of 64 and June of 72, you only had to be on active duty 90 days to get a certificate of eligibility. So watch, earth to you. This is incredible. You might actually have VA eligibility sitting out there. You've been caught in an 80-20 upside down non-Fannie loan for the last 6 years because you bought when the bubble was about to burst and now you've got no equity at all. We can take and do the research and get you into 100% VA mortgage and free you from that terrible 80-20 loan that you have. But you have to call. So if you've got VA eligibility, you've got to give me a buzz. Now, that captures everything with VA. The one last thing I want to touch on before the break, before I give you the power to come in the next segments to how we actually hit the ground running, is I'm going to go through this sequence of discussions and questions right now. I am exploring with a partnership with Steve Haney on reverse mortgages. I'm not going to do this if it's a waste of time for him, a waste of time for me, and especially, most importantly, a waste of time for you, the listener. But here's the deal. If you are in the golden years of your life, if you are in the final season, the chapter, the tremendous retirement years of your life, and you have a wonderful house, I don't care if you live in Brush, Colorado or Longmont, I'm saying if you have a house with equity and you have a tremendous legacy that you're going to give your kids, but you are struggling to the finish line and you don't know, you haven't invested as well as you wanted to, you haven't went ahead and put aside as much money as you wanted, it's too late to beat yourself up. But if you are that individual, but you have equity, then you need to give me a buzz and we need to talk about the reverse mortgage and see if that applies to you. I'm going to start to educate. So if you want to have the discussion about reverse mortgage, if you have a question about reverse mortgage, you give me a call and we'll have that discussion. And straight ahead, after the break, we are going to get into exactly what is the first step for you to qualify. What's that baby step? What do you need to do? Don't go anywhere. We're going to start with a bang and a splash of what you want to do with purchasing a house. You're listening to Jay Garvin's at the Jay Garvin Show, KRDO News Radio.
The Jay Garvin Show. Home Mortgage Talk. Saturdays 8 a.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. on KRDO News Radio 105.5 FM and 1240 a.m. And now here's your host, Jay Garvins.
So welcome back. I am Jay Garvins. You're listening to the Jay Garvin Show. And we've been talking all morning about I want a house. What do I qualify for? We've touched on a bunch of things about the FHA Streamline Refinance Program. So if you got an FHA Streamline and you have not been told about the dramatic fee changes coming the 9th of June, decreasing your costs by over $1,700 for every $100,000 that you loan against, you need to stop and give me a call at 330-1457 or go on to KRDO, click the news tab, go down to Jay Garvin's and listen to the first segments and archives of the show, because that is important. Also, I talked about if you are not using your VA eligibility yet, give me a call. That's very, very important. The one thing that I do want to touch on is what I stated before the break. What is the first step, period? If you want a house, and what do I qualify for? What is the very first step? The first step that I found is this. You really need to determine why you want to purchase, solidify that reason, or basically decide why you haven't purchased up to this point. Don't underestimate or underscore what I've just said, because I can take an individual that's perfectly qualified, has the perfect income, has the perfect real estate agent, and flop around and flail around and never get through the purchase process and quit it halfway through because they have no deep desire or purchase. Well, if I purchase, it's okay, and if I stay renting, it's okay, and if I do this, it's okay. Without my convincing you, you have to have a down-to-earth, bottom-line conversation with your spouse, if you're religious, that coming to Jesus conversation or talk about why don't we own a house? What is that fear of moving from rental? Did you have a bad experience before? Is it just the sense of responsibility? And talk yourself through it. That is step number one. Mike and Bernadette, congratulations on your house. They have rented their whole life. Mike is 30 years old. He's been in and out of jobs in the cable industry, but because he applied to the Dave Ramsey concept, because he's got 3 months of reserves in the bank, because he's got a great budget, then he was able to step into the purchase process with a sense of security. And for the first time in his 30 years in life, he just purchased. And you know who's the happiest out of all of them? Bernadette, his wife. It's nesting. It's a sense of security. They have a beautiful son, Ryan. He can now, for the first time, is going to have a yard to play in with a T-ball set that's been sitting in their living room for over a month. Mommy, when are we going to get a yard? Mommy, can we go and play? Sorry, I don't have a yard. That is the burning desire for Mike and Bernadette. They want to own a piece of the American dream. They want to own something that belongs to them. So the bottom line is what is your draw? What is your conviction to have a house? I know all of you out there are not homeowners yourself, but you have daughters, you have sons, you have sisters, you have brothers. Talk to them and say, hey, Bobby, whatever your kid's name is, your adult child, give this Jay Garvin's a call, and I will walk them through that. I tell people all the time, first of all, our friendship starts at the closing. It doesn't end there. Number two, I don't care if someone takes 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years to buy a house. I passionately believe in home ownership, but it comes with a sense of responsibility. Our economy is built off it. And I'm telling you right now, step number one is to solidify the reason why you want to purchase. And I'll give you a couple right here. If you're renting right now and you're paying more than $1,000 in rent and you've got a steady job and you haven't looked into buying a house, you're just naive. You have to get off your rusty dusty and start the process. Another one here that I mentioned, if you got VA eligibility and you haven't used it, I've got a perfect. This third segment, I am getting down to the nitty gritty of exactly why you want to buy a house and what you'll qualify for. And I will go into the what I qualify for. And in the fourth segment, I am going to give you the best combination of how you can keep. If you're a homeowner right now, I'm going to give you a scenario of how you can keep your house, get the interest rate extremely low, take that small house, turn it into a rental. I know you just fell off your toilet. You just swerved your car. You can't believe that I'm going to teach you how to be a landlord, but it's okay. My wife just penned yesterday her first tenant on a handwritten lease, and if she can do it, you can do it. There's no doubt at all. She is a stay-home mom of 2, and she just got her first tenant, and you should have seen the look in her face. So you can do it. But I am going to teach you how you can take your house, get the most aggressive rate down in the 3s or the low 4s, depending on your loan. Then I'm going to teach you how to go out with an agent, not find a house, but find a deal, find something that's going to increase 10, 15% in equity averaged over the next 10 years and create a retirement. And that's where, so you don't go anywhere. We are going to show you exactly what to do. And also, talking about retirement, this whole show I've been spattering in the discussion of reverse mortgage. If you want to know more about what the heck that is, if you are an individual in the golden years of your life and you want to find out how you can take some of the equity out of your house and give yourself a little relief with a monthly income increase and still preserve the legacy for your kids, you've got to stop and call me right now. 330-1457, 330-1457. And if you're sitting at home, please do me a favor. Just go to Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com. Put your information on the right-hand side. Then I won't bother you during the weekends. I know your weekends are important. You're listening to Jay Garvin's. Don't go anywhere. Straight ahead, we're going to give you all the answers of how to create a retirement plan for you and your family through home ownership.
The Jay Garvin Show. Home Mortgage Talk. Saturdays 8 a.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. on KRDO News Radio 105.5 FM and 1240 a.m. And now here's your host, Jay Garvins.
Well, welcome back. I am Jay Garvins, the host of The Jay Garvin Show, your Southern Colorado mortgage Jedi. I am also the owner of Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans, and today we have been talking about a tremendous subject, and I'm excited to continue that about I want a house, what do I qualify for? We talked about the most important aspect of buying a house, and that is finding your reason why you want that house. Because I told you in the previous segment, if I have an individual who has all of the qualifications, all the income, the perfect credit, and all of that, and they don't have the desire and they're wish-washy about their home mortgage, there's no guarantee that it is going to finish. But if I have a couple like I do now, Lewis and Tommy, who are military, wonderful couple, but they need help with their credit. He needs help with some bill payoff issues. They need help with a little more income because he's new in the military. But they have a burning desire to purchase, and I see in their heart, in their mind, in their soul that they're going to get this house no matter what. Then I'll run with that couple every time. Now, a side note to that, congratulations, by the way, with Tommy and Luis. Is I asked him, you guys, you are so not set with all your ducks in a row to buy a house, but you have an incredible passion for buying one. What is it? And he turned to me and he says, my wife is pregnant. And that's done. That's all I needed to hear. This guy is going to do anything. He's going to walk over hot coals. He is going to pioneer over mountains in order to get his beautiful wife nested and settled before they have their baby. And you know what? Hats off to you, Lewis, because I love that. Mike and Bernadette, we're going to do it no matter what. Hey, Mike Kingsbury, I am congratulating you. First of all, thanks for serving your country like you did. Thank you for serving and working with the Postal. You just bought and utilized your VA for the first time in 22 years, and I am so incredibly proud that you chose to do it with me, because you can choose anybody you want. And if you're out there as well, I'm telling you right now that if you are not a homeowner, if you are not totally settled and comfortable in your mortgage, as far as the interest rate, conventional if you're above 5%, government if you're above 4.75%, investment property if you're above 6%, then you give me a call. Now, I have disclosures on that. The bottom line is that if we're talking mobile homes, I am so sorry, I cannot help you. If you're unemployed and you have no monthly income, either through disability, retirement, or active employment, I am sorry, I cannot help you. If you have an individual where you're upside down and you have mortgages that are $140,000, but you know your house only appraises for $100,000, I am so sorry, I cannot help you. You have to have at least some equity, or you have to have at least a level playing field where your mortgages equals the value of your house. You have to have a source of monthly income. I'm sorry. You can't come to me with your investment properties and have tax returns that show a minus $100,000 a year against your income. And then, of course, the type of house. If you're in a mobile home, a modular home, if you're on 60 acres, if things are really bizarre, you've got to go to your local bank. And those are just the facts of it. Now, I am going to tell you this. One, also, I mentioned, if you are a veteran right now, you've served in the military, you have some banking or financing experience. If you've had an interest to being in mortgage or financing in the past, if you currently work at a bank and you served in the military and you want to move up and get a new position as a mortgage loan officer, as a loan processor, or you want to be an operations manager for a whole company, you give me a call personally at 330-1457, 330-1457, and I will walk you through how to come onto our team. And now here's the last nugget, the last push, especially for all you individuals that listen to Dave Ramsey during the week. First of all, make sure you talk to the station because Dave Ramsey is going to be doing a huge show, a visit, and a theme about legacy and passing it on. Find out more information here at my host station, KRDO News Radio. But I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to Dave Ramsey and you advocate his principles, I'm telling you, you're at the right place, and you give me a call and I'll walk you through the process. But the last nugget for the day for I Want a House and what do I qualify for is this. More than having a warm roof over your head is important in home ownership. There's more to just having a door and a bedroom and a kitchen in home ownership. You can get all of that in rental. What I'm telling you about right now is that, listen closely if you're a guy. Why this is, I don't know, but your wife's sense of security and her feeling of safety, her safeness with you, comes in large part to nesting and owning a house. You listening right now, when you're a female, you know this. That's why I am passionate about this, because I see the sense of security in your daughters, in your sisters, in your wife's eyes, and it does make a difference. Homeownership is more than the risk of having to pay your mortgage consistently. It is actually creating a sense of security for you, your children, and your wife, and giving you something to be proud of. So if you've been holding off and you haven't made this move yet in your life, please call me and tell me how I can help to plant the seed to change. I appreciate you so much as the listener. I'm Jay Garvins. I'm your friend. You've been listening to The Jay Garvins Show. Have a wonderful and prosperous weekend. Prosperous weekend. Prosperous weekend.